Now let's learn about one of the values for the display CSS property. This one is called inline display. Every HTML element has a default display value that dictates if it can share horizontal space with other elements. Some elements fool the entire browser from left to right, regardless of the size of their content. Other elements only take up as much horizontal space as their content requires and can be directly next to other elements. In this lesson, we will cover three values for the display property. The first one is inline, then we have a block, and then inline block value. The default display for some tags such as M tags, strong tags, and A tags or link tags is called inline. So they are inline level elements by default. Inline elements have a box that wraps tightly around their content, only taking up the amount of space necessary to display their content and not requiring a new line after each element. The height and width of these elements cannot be specified in the CSS document. For example, the text of an anchor tag or A element will by default be displayed on the same line as the surrounding text, and it will only be as wide as necessary to contain its content. Inline elements cannot be altered in size with the height or width CSS properties. Okay, in the example above, the M element is inline because it displays its content on the same line as the content surrounding it, including the anchor tag, so including the A tag. So A tag and M tag, they will render on the same line. This example will display. To learn more about inline elements, read MDN documentation, and I will leave you the link to this page in the description of this video. The CSS display property provides the ability to make any element an inline element. This includes elements that are not inline by default, such as paragraphs, divs, and headings. The CSS in the example above will change the display of all H1 elements to inline. Here is the CSS rule. The browser will render H1 elements on the same line as other inline elements immediately before or after them, if there are any, of course. And now let's see the instructions. In index.html, add opening and closing strong tags around welcome. Let's find welcome. So I guess right here. Notice that the element doesn't move. That is because strong elements are inline, so they can share lines with other elements. Okay, let's place this piece of text in a strong tag. Now update our code. And welcome just became bold because that's exactly what strong tag is doing. But the point here is that this element is inline element and it doesn't move to a new line. It stays on the same line as the rest of the content. And now let's proceed to the next exercise.